Hello, my name is Usbongo Ntlanganiso Hadeb. Today I'm going to tell you more about how I would teach reported and directed speech using a comic strip or a cartoon activity. This would be good whether you are teaching online or in the classroom, and this is perfect for learners of all ages. This is how I would introduce the topic. I would start by reminding the students of the difference between direct and reported speech. For example, direct speech, she said, "I'm happy." And reported speech, she said that she was happy. We'll teach this through a comic strip format or a cartoon format, which makes learning more engaging and relatable. Now, moving on to the materials that are needed. For this part of the lesson, you will need a printed worksheet, and you can find the worksheet. I will attach it so that you can see what it is that I will be using for the lesson. Pencils or pens, and of course some creativity. Now, moving on to the warm-up activity to allow the learners to know more about what it is that they will be learning. I will start with a quick class warm-up, write a sentence in direct speech on the board, and ask students to convert it into reported speech, while keeping it fun and simple, of course. Now, the example I would use is, John said, "I love pizza." That would be, of course, for direct speech. And to change that to reported speech, they would have to say, John said that he loved pizza. Now, moving on to the main task or the main activity, which is using the comic strip or the cartoon. The fun part. I will now hand out the comic strip or the cartoon to the class. The first part includes short scenes with characters speaking directly. Students have to rewrite each character's dialogue into reported speech. An example that we would use is, Tom says, "I can't find my homework." And the students will then have to know how to write this in reported speech. After using the two examples that we went through at first in the warm-up activity, and also telling them the difference between reported speech and direct speech, when I show them the worksheet, or when they go through the worksheet, seeing that Tom says, "I can't find my homework," they will then have to figure out a way to write that in reported speech, which would be, Tom said that he couldn't find his homework. This gives context to grammar, making it easier to understand and remember. Now, moving on to the fifth part of the lesson, which is now a group task. But of course, this can be optional. I believe that working as a group is always very good because it allows learners to help each other, and although some learners may be able to understand the work, it gives them an opportunity to actually learn more about how to use the reported speech, or rather how to take a direct speech and change it to reported speech. And the learners who were not able to understand the work are now given an opportunity to work with the friends or their classmates who actually do understand the work. So now this means that they are able to help each other better understand the work. So if you are teaching in person, of course, you have to split the class into pairs or small groups. Let them draw their own comic strip using characters and speech bubbles. Then they swap the comics with another group and rewrite the dialogues in reported speech. Similar to how they got everything written in direct speech, now as group work, they will have to take the comic strips that have been drawn by other groups and change what has been said to reported speech. Now get into the last part of the lesson, the wrap up and the recap, to see whether or not they actually understood what it is that they learned. At the end of the lesson, we have to do a quick review. Ask students to explain one sentence that they transformed and why they changed the verb tense or the pronoun. And of course, you can also quiz them using flashcards with direct speech quotes. And that is it. Thank you very much. That is the lesson for reported and direct speech. I will then cite all the resources I used in the PDF that I will be submitting. And thank you very much for your time. I hope this was very informative and it showed how I would use innovation to actually make the lesson a bit more engaging and much more interesting, allowing the learners to be interactive and of course at the end of the lesson know more about the difference between direct and reported speech, how to change something from direct speech to reported speech. Thank you for your time.